space there, right? So you could come up here with a post on each side. Yeah. You could do something like that, yeah.
You can do that all the way down.
Yes, and it would definitely, because then you're compressing wood instead of using screws. Screws are never the answer.
Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock, everyone. Thank you, everyone that came out in the rain. A little crazy. We have a quorum. All board members are present this morning. So if we could all stand for a moment of silence. Now for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to you, Texas, one state, under God,
One indivisible.
All right, has everyone had a chance to go over the minutes?
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. Do we have anything for the secretary's report?
I don't have any correspondence from anyone for secretaries,
Okay,
just committee reports.
okay. Treasurer's report?
Okay, I have most of the numbers. I had a difficult time the past 2 days because the guru was out of town. So anyway, I'll do the best I can. Revenue for the Barracks Inn was $34,497 for April of 2023. Last year it was $49,515. So we're down a little bit. We had a 46% occupancy this past month. The revenue for the RV park, income for April of 2023 is $25,927. Income for April of 2022 was $14,415. So we are up another $10,000 from last year. As we know, if you've been through there, it's full. Sale of lots, 15 lots sold last month, 6 more this month. We have around 50 left to be sold. The prices of adjacent lots is still at 25% for those of you who would like to utilize that program. I do have a question I'm going to throw in here as part of my report, and that we're doing very, very well selling lots. Do we really need to hire a realtor? One of which has requested 14% interest. And she's going gangbusters. Just thought I'd mention it. We'll talk about it later. Service club, income for April 2023 is $2,400. The income for April 2022 was $1,844. That's up as well. Okay, I did not have information. There's no trapping. We didn't do anything this year. This month. We didn't do anything this month. That's what you said to me. Is that right? We did do trapping? Don't worry about it.
We're doing exceptionally well in our traffic.
No, last month it was big, but I don't know about this month, so it's okay.
It's big too.
Okay. Right now, the best I can do for you right now is we have on hand $518,079.99, which is a bit more than we had last year at this time, about 6,000. So anyway, any questions? If there's anything you guys want to know about, you give me a heads up, a couple days before the board meeting, we can research that for you. That's all I got.
Linda, just a quick question. I know that when we started selling the lots, and this is clarification for the membership, the first 30 days was 25% for
Correct.
adjacent lots.
Uh-huh.
The second month was for 10%, and then we went to the public after
10%.
after 60. We have not approved any additional reductions since then. We can, but we haven't.
All I know is that's what I was told.
Well, let's save
Just
that,
for clarification.
let's save that for when we get to the lot summary, later on the agenda.
The trapping this month, last month, compared to last year, we did not do any trapping last year. We made 23,000 this year.
Okay. I think we had that in last month, but anyway,
No, this is,
just this month. Okay, so the bottom line is we're 6,000 ahead than we were from last year, which is, I'm sorry that was so convoluted, but,
Good job with it.
thank you.
Thank you, Linda. I do have a question. The P&L and the report that we get on the barracks and the RV park don't match, which is one just more current than the other?
the one, we have a difference in how we do accounting with the Protel. It does a cash accounting as opposed to the accrual, which it should be. So the higher one is usually correct.
Okay.
In other words, the way they've always done it is that they only report it when they check out, which is not accurate,
Okay. And is that the same for the RV park?
pretty much.
Okay.
That's just the way our system works.
Okay, because that one's flipped. Like the P&L shows a lower for the motel, but it shows higher for the RV park.
We're much higher in the RV park.
Yeah, the P&L shows
Our
32,000.
RV park usually pays cash, so it's realized then.
Okay,
As in opposed to the motel, we have some people that stay over for a couple of weeks and don't check out. And until we get that situated with Protel and QuickBooks, it's going to be a lag. It always catches up 1 month. If I get everybody check out and get their money, it'd be accurate.
okay.
Or once our new accounting people learn how to, or figure out how we're going to do that accounting wise, then we'll be fine. But it always, little layover somewhere along the line.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. I did see we didn't show any water
Right.
usage.
Our water bill from MUD usually comes in 3 to 3.5 weeks after the close of the month, so we're going
So it
to
just
carry it over
depends.
to the next month.
Okay,
And that way, it'll always be lagging 1 month behind, but we won't be able to sit here and wait for them to get us a water bill.
okay, thank you. And the only other thing I was gonna say is that for preservation, if it is here, in that account is $36,830. Anybody else have anything for treasurer? All right, Mr. Peterson, it's your turn.
As Linda said, I was out of town. I did attend the Community Association Conference in Dallas, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And this is where we get a lot of the information that I give out to the board as far as, how HOAs work and everything else like that. The seminars I went to, it's not 2008 anymore, Collecting Assessments in a Modern World. And really it went into the financial relief program, which Jason Long brought to our attention a couple months ago, which has been an amazing help to at least one person right now. But after going through this seminar, there's a lot of money out there for it. So I think Renee, and while I just got out of that, Renee and Linda were in our office working on that then. I think Linda's gonna work on volunteering with people that want help. And what it is when you get behind, for whatever reasons, there's help out there from the government to pay back or get you caught up with your rent or your assessments and things like that. And it's been huge all around the country. We wouldn't have known about it really unless Jason would have told us about it. But now it's something I think we really need to see, because it just brought in a pretty good sum of money to us last month.
About 5,000.
Yeah, last week. So it's out there and it's there to help, basically the members that need help.
Can I just interject one thing? It's a win-win. It's a
Yeah.
win for us and it's a win for our member. In the end, everybody's happy. So why not jump on it? There's a lot of money.
So it does work and it does help people. The other one I have is building maintenance, how to reduce repair costs and ensure safety. Shop talk for insurance and risk management professionals. And risk mitigation, best practices of community insurance and reserve studies. Obviously, I spend a lot of time looking into the insurance and risk management area. And then another one is a whole new confusing world about short-term rental policies. And it was pretty interesting also. I've never seen so many different non-answers in a meeting in my life as far as how to deal with short-term rentals. So it's not, we're talking to everybody from around the country. And there's some scenarios that people heard and they're going, you got by with that? But it's not just us. For other information, Stephen Crum has resigned as the manager of the golf course. Hate to hear it. Stephen's been here for about a year, and he has really turned a lot of things around that I wasn't sure if could be turned around, but we're going to miss him. And our Eclipse committee has informed me that they also have resigned as a committee. So we now no longer have a Eclipse committee. Gabby has been, as far as our lot sales, I think we're at $80-something thousand for this year. Since 2016, the most we've ever sold. One year we did 68,000, and that's when we sold a house for 45. So
About 88,000.
yeah, so it's an amazing amount. I did not get her to decide, to really say, okay, how much more of it are we making now than we would have when we sold at the old prices? But we'll work on that for the next meeting. If anybody's watched, Philip and the maintenance crew have been actually working and repairing potholes throughout the fort. So I hope people notice that, but maybe it's just one of those things you don't see. And we are protesting approximately 200 individual tax appraisals. I'm sure everybody understands that. The common area went up on the ones that changed, approximately 48%. And some of the lots that went up to 98%. So there's some really, really outrageous ones. But we did fill out 200 individual tax protests, and so we're going it that way. And our accounting firm met with the task force Tuesday and gave us, I feel like, very positive feeling about cleaning up our books and that transfer from the black system. They will be finalizing both years by this year and last year by September, and then we'll submit both years for the audit and review it then. I don't know, Chris, I felt extremely confident working with him. In fact, that
He knows what he's doing.
he knows what he's doing, and he had the answers. Almost everybody else I talked to, including myself, were completely overwhelmed by what I thought the complete task is here. I think he did say that we've cleaned up a lot, and I think getting off of the black system will help out on our audit, because that was one thing that was a security risk as far as our audit. So by the end of September, I think we will be currently switched over, current, everything back up to where it should be as an operating company. So it's been an ordeal, but we are getting there. And people that want to know, both the Master Gardener and the Master Naturalist program are still being planned. Probably looks like it'll be late summer and early fall. Matt and his crew, or pretty much just Matt, have been going around, and we are starting CCNR violations. And in case anybody wants to know, we are also writing up any of the fort's owned properties for violations also. So if we own something, it's going to be written up just like everybody else, and we will deal with that accordingly. So that's it.
Well, to clarify, that's the individual lots, not motel or rent, or do you mean all property?
Anything, well, it'd be all the unit, in the units.
In the units, okay.
Yes. 2 years ago, I couldn't really go after everybody at CCNRs because all the 4 properties that we own were in such bad shape. We're actually into the condition that we've cleaned up a lot of them, and I think, okay, now we've caught up enough that we need to adhere to the same rules as everybody else.
Does anybody have any questions? No? All right, committee reports. Airport,
There's nothing from the airport committee.
okay. Architecture,
Good morning. Since your last meeting, we've approved 10 permits, tabled 3 applications while waiting for more information, approved an extension for a new build, and approved an extension for correcting a violation. We have sent out 30 violation letters targeting units 1, 3, 7, and 22. We've sent out 2 second notice violation letters, and we'll be sending 3 more next week, along with more first violation letters. We have updated the permit application form, the blue repair application form, the violation report form, and the architecture committee member application form, and approved them all. We are in the process of converting our forms to Spanish for those members who need them in Spanish. We have created a tip sheet, which to make members aware of steps that need to be taken before doing any work on the outside of their homes and what to do for like repairs. Those tips will be handed out today to put on your refrigerator. It will be available on the Fort website, and copies are available in the front office. I want to say a special thank you to all our committee members for their hard work, but especially to Joanne Gordon and Mallory Ratliff for the hours of work they've put in on the tip sheets and forms. We are in the process of updating our standard operating procedures. The CCNRs have been converted to Word documents so we can start working on updating and revising them. This will be a process involving the board of directors and each unit's property owners. We held 3 readings of our new fine schedule and adopted it. It's been filed with the county clerk's office. We've moved our meetings to 5 p.m. on Tuesdays to facilitate association members' attendance. It has been agreed that complaint forms concerning our purview will come directly to the committee for action. Please keep in mind that this is a volunteer committee, probably the hardest working committee on the fort. We meet every Tuesday and put in hours of work during the week preparing for the meetings. We investigate permit requests, violations, CCNR's complaints, and assist people in getting their permit applications approved. Please do not be offended if you receive a violation letter. We are all interested in keeping our properties looking nice and keeping our property values up. I'm sorry that as volunteers, we don't have time to visit with every property owner about what needs to be done to their property. Our procedure is to send a violation letter so you're made aware you need to come into compliance with the CCNRs for your unit. We are required by the CCNRs to send a letter in the regular mail and by registered mail. Please help us put the best face we can on the fort.
thank you, trustees.
Francis, I stand corrected. Y'all are the ones doing all the CCNR violations, not just Matt. So I apologize.
We'll share the responsibility.
Golf committee,
Golf Committee, this is from Katie Brown. The Cajun Bash Golf Tournament on May 6th was a total success with a net profit of $8,260. The tournament was for the sole benefit of the golf course. We have recently spent a total of $3,759.63 for the golf course, $500 for a part for the aerator, and $1,799.63 for a used aerator. The same model as the one we currently have, so that we can use the parts to keep at least one of them functioning, and $1,500 for delivery of the aerator. The Border Bash Golf Tournament is May 20th. This is put on by the Border Patrol. The Golf Committee will assist with player registration. Respectfully submitted, Katie Brown.
Preservation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Preservation Committee met on 5/10/23. I updated the committee on my mistake of ordering the wrong light bulbs for the Post Theater marquee. These bulbs were non-dimmable, and the marquee bulbs must be dimmable because of the newer LED type available today. There will be a dimmer switch installed along with the new lighting. As of last week, I received the correct dimmable bulbs. They will soon start remodeling and installing the wiring, sockets, and bulbs in the lighting facade panels that go into the marquee. Welders will have to fabricate a support structure for the lighting panels. These things are pretty heavy. On a separate note, we have a new pair of double doors on the west side of the theater. And I think I mentioned earlier that those doors came from an old Kinney County warehouse remodeling job, and they are heavy-duty son of a guns. Anyway, they've worked real well. And all painting and repair work has been completed on the east, south, and west sides of the theater. Respectfully submitted, H.N. Bidder. Any questions?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Recycling.
She's running right up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have progress. This week we shipped 48 boxes and 7 bales of plastic. Yay. So this month, May, they're going to give us, it's $198 per ton. So hopefully, we'll make a little bit of money minus the $650 that we have to pay for the truck. Our baler, probably within the next 2 weeks, we should be having the baler come. And prior to, in preparation of, I had an electrician come. We had 2 bids, and I got a little bit off for the second one. So the electrician put in, inside the building, we have a cutoff box in case, so that's an on-off lever, which is super. Then the baler gets attached to that, and the electric source is on the pole outside of the recycle center. And the wire that he put in from the building goes underground and to the pole. So that's super. Rio Grande came and put in a meter, so when we do use electric, there's a source for it. The baler comes from Dublin, Texas, and so the guy's having a little trouble trying to get a schedule, so I don't have an exact date yet. But basically, we're ready. So that's the electric and the baler. In order to get the baler, which is 4,400 pounds, off the truck that they come in, our forklift isn't strong enough to lift it off the truck. So we have a kind person, Steve Woods, who has a very strong forklift. So he's going to come when it's time. So we have to coordinate with him to get this thing off the truck and into the recycle building. So we're waiting patiently for a date. I'll probably have from the award, I'll probably have maybe $1,000 left, and after the payment for the baling. So that should go towards whatever we decide to buy in order to store stuff, keep it out of the rain and maybe the rodents. So we got some homework done. A person in Uvalde could make a portable building, so that's one thing. And his bid, probably minus taxes that we don't pay, that building would be about $26,000. And that's a 30 by 30 by 15 building. So you all understand we need to keep stuff out of the rain. So that's why we need a storage facility for the bales that hopefully we're going to be successful in making. The other choice, a storage container, which is like a railroad car. Joe did some scouting around and found one company that would sell a new storage container for $6,800 and $400 to deliver, versus a used one is $4,500. So if we get 2 used ones, it would cost $9,400. If we got 1 new one and 1 used one, it would cost $11,700. So we got some paperwork on the storage building, and I think Joe Alaknis has the phone number for the storage container. We think it's in Carrizo Springs, but I'm not sure. So, so that's the choices. We have to get something. Once we get the baler, start making bales, we have to keep them undercover until we have enough bales to ship out.
Isn't there a used storage container in the RV storage area that belonged to Sam Holloman, who's no longer here?
Who in fact is dead.
Right, exactly, but his wife is,
Somebody's paying for it.
yeah, I'm serious, it's way towards the back fence line.
Really?
We ought to check it out, I mean, it's worth a phone call.
Yeah. Who, phone call to,
T.J. Holloman.
okay, do you have her contact?
No, but we can get it.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, and we're saying, I mean, if storage containers could be painted and
Yeah, they look decent.
look a decent, we would need, I have no idea, we would need something like caliche on the ground. I have no idea how much that would cost or how much we would need.
Is your
Because-
building that you got quotes for with walls or without?
Yeah, it's got 3 walls and a door in the front. Yeah, here's a diagram, I'll give you this, Al. So, and the guy's phone number. Yeah, yeah, it's 30 by 30 by 15.
Why would
So,
you need walls?
well, I guess it should be some kind of contained place so we don't get rain in the sides. Like if you're thinking of a carport, rain and whatnot will be splashing through, I think.
Temporarily, would a large tarp do the work?
Where would it?
Over the plastic?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
we're talking about not getting plastic wet.
Sure, we don't care. I mean, aluminum, our cans could be wet. I mean, we could leave
Yeah,
those
just-
bales outside. We could also leave the plastic water bottle bales outside. Yeah, I mean, that's the future, but I thought I'd get your attention with some of these for, you know, that's what.
$30,000 got my attention.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe. Well, that versus, we had a bid for 43,000 for a building and cement floor, which we don't really need that. I figure, I don't know, level with caliche so that the building or the storage container is not gonna wobble. So anyway, that, I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention because after we start baling, we need to put them somewhere. Paper needs to be inside, mixed paper needs to be inside. And the steel and the aluminum and doesn't have to be, so. Thoughts,
Elena,
questions?
Elena,
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your service. You are one person who's made a difference. She coordinated, she's coordinated this whole thing. She coordinated Rio Grande to come out here. She coordinated the electricians. She's coordinated the baler. She's coordinated the delivery or the takeoff of the baler. She's gotten prices for us. Super organized, super everything. One person, one volunteer, outstanding volunteer, and you got my vote for volunteer of the year next year. So I'm so proud of you. And she's got us $10,000 for the baler. It's not costing the members a penny. Not one single penny of the members' money is going to go to the baler.
Yeah, well, actually, I got.
Just part of the
10,500.
electricity. Just part of the electricity.
Yeah, the electrician cost us $14.80.
Yes.
So I paid, because we have so much money, the 10,005 award, I paid for 1/3. The Ford paid 1,000, I paid $480 for the electrician. So I have, the baler costs $88.65. That's baler, freight to get here and installation. So I'll have another 1,000 left for X facility.
Potentially some containers.
Yeah. So I'll have about 1,000 that I could offset some of the money that hopefully the Ford can pay. So I guess that's it.
And that's not an immediate need, right? I
The-
mean, it's coming up, but
Yeah.
what kind of timeline are you?
My only personal timeline is I have to get that baler paid by June 30th. Otherwise, I have to give all the money back.
No, I'm sorry, I meant about this,
But the storage facility, yeah, well, hey, whenever we can,
Okay.
yeah. In the meantime, you know, we'll put the aluminum outside, we'll put with the tarp. So, whatever. You know, I mean, yeah, you don't have to work on it tomorrow, but it'd be great to get started in the
Valvo
process.
was also supposed to give me some quotes.
Oh, yeah,
They came out the other day. So
Okay.
hopefully,
all right. So I gave Alan Joe Alaknis's work, so thank you. And
Thank you, Helene.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thanks, ma'am.
Appreciate your hard work.
Lost Moors Restoration Project.
Good morning.
Morning.
Earlier submitted a written report. I'm not going to read that whole thing. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it here for this meeting, but I'll give you the condensed version of that. We're moving forward with spending the money. In March, we had the infusion of $60,000, $50,000 T-Mobile grant and $10,000 from another foundation grant. So we're moving forward with the projects that most of which identified in the T-Mobile grant. We finished the phase 3 of sidewalk work. We did the grass, the related sodding in that sidewalk area and a couple of other areas that needed it. That's complete, and thank you for the spaced out rains, and Russell Knoll appreciates those spaced out rains because he's been a trooper watering that grass to keep it alive. So it's looking good, I believe. And we've launched into the bathrooms renovation, demolition, and rebuild. The men's and women's bathrooms are both serviceable. They're not done by any means. The building part is for the most part done. There's some carpentry work related to getting the roof back and facade. But in those swapping out of fixtures, we wanted the bathroom serviceable if at all possible by Memorial Weekend, and they are. They're functional. If anybody feels the need during the meeting, you can trot down there and use them. But there's more to be done. There's demolition of the changing rooms to be done, and we're going to leave that as has been communicated to you all in reports previously. We're not sure where to go, what to do. We're just going to hold that in abeyance for a time being and let it percolate as to what might be the best and greatest use of that space. In other words, we're not immediately putting changing rooms back in. There's other things. So the bathroom and the sidewalk, those were the biggest. There are other very important things that don't rise to that level of size project. For example, repair of the barbecue pit in that area to the side of the bathrooms. We felt like that's quite important. We've just a day or two ago green lighted the stonemason to do that as soon as the schedule permits, so that repair will happen. We've part of the plumbing work on the bathroom renovation. We've extended water access. That was a suggestion that I think Alicia Christian somebody had made about it'd be nice to have water available in that barbecue pit area. So there's various things of that sort. We are, Monday, their welder is going to come and start repair of some of the rusted steps to the ladders. That's going to be a little bit of a synchronized swimming, pun intended, because two of the ladders at least can't be done when there's the standing water in the bottom of the pool. He's going to start Monday with the other ladders, and those were a hazard. Some of those steps have rusted out and are hazardous. We're going to do a little improvement of the steps too. Still a little bit of a working process of exactly, but there'll be some rubberizing for more traction. What else? As far as the synchronized swimming, as you know, the pool refills when it's pumped out, even with no water flowing in. And it's been a very big mystery for quite some time, but within the last month, the Fort Clark maintenance needed to do some repair to the foot valve, which is down in a kind of like a little basement sump area at the base of the big pipe that goes vertical up for emptying the pool. And never before has that basement area been pumped clear of water, but it had to be for this foot valve repair. And we noticed that all of a sudden, for the first time, we were able to see down in the bottom, and there are two 2-inch pipes at one corner, on either side of one corner of that little basement area, that flow continuously. And that was a huge revelation. And I got with one of the engineers during the last 3 years, or almost 3 years of this whole restoration project. I've, from time to time, after the original big engineering assessment and engineering report of what needed to be done structurally, subsequent to that, from time to time, there are two different engineers that I've conferred with to get some advice and help with diagnosing what the heck is going on with the design of this pool. And so when these two 2-inch flowing pipes revealed themselves, I got with one of the engineers, and he has said, his conclusion is those are, they're original. They're back to the 1939 design of the pool, and they are almost without a doubt to prevent sediment building up in that little basement area. So they're important when the pool is functioning, but the big challenge and the goal now is to figure out where is the inlet to those two pipes. We can't figure that out. And we took a stab at it with mud to do a test for chlorine in the water to see if it's chlorinated water, meaning is it coming from metered water. Their test was inconclusive because there was too much dilution from too much water in the pool. We're not giving up. The engineer had a recommendation that we could use compressed air and basically cork the end of one of those pipes, put compressed air, look to see where that air comes out, and run all around the spring and spring wall area. So we're still trying to figure that out. But if we can figure it out, it'll be real significant, because we'll be able to control that water flowing into the pool and control it to not flow when it's not helpful to the cause. So that's those are some of the things. It continues to be quite the saga, quite the journey, but fortunately we have the $60,000 to be able to do things like repair ladder steps with hiring a welder and other stuff. So, any questions?
We have an extra set of steps down at Motor Pool.
You don't right now. You
Okay,
did.
took 'em, okay.
You did, but we took that away 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think with permission of the
Yeah.
people riding
Yeah.
herd on Motor Pool. We took it away. Tim Ward has it for the purpose of showing welder what is needing to be done, and that particular ladder got bunged up when the sidewalk work was being done. That ladder got banged pretty bad, so it's being repaired.
I found your solar lights. I found your solar lights.
Oh, good. Let's talk later. On the lights, it's been not a front burner topic, but I have in the last month or so conferred with organizations that's been real active in helping towns, particularly in the hill country, switch over to dark sky lighting. And I conferred with them. They are conferring with the International Dark Skies folks to get their inputs on this. The combination of trying to stay true to the historic integrity look of the lights, but also be dark sky friendly. So, and I haven't heard back.
They're dark sky rated.
Good. Yes, Memo.
Yeah, Mr. Hale, a real quick question. I know that last year we did some work around the pool and we patched up the walls when they dried up. But I think we mentioned sometime in the past the issue of the gate and the water seeping out of the gate into the canal.
In the bypass channel.
Yes, is there what is that we can do to keep, is there anything else we can do to keep the water from going there and make sure it goes into the pool?
We, the Restoration Committee, aren't doing anything on that.
Yes,
So go back to when the spring went dry.
Yeah,
The Restoration Committee repaired that whole gate apparatus.
Yes.
We hired welder and repaired that gate apparatus where the spring flows into the pool. It needed some serious restoration, and so we did that. We, back at that time when the spring was dry, Mr. Peterson and Travis and I met down there and talked about that bypass channel. We, Restoration Committee, didn't have money to do that additional gate valve welding repair, and also we didn't really see it within our scope. We were focused on the structural stuff related to the pool, but Travis had said immediately in that discussion, oh, Fort Clark Springs will do that. So we basically left that whole gate valve or gate apparatus to Fort Clark Springs. My opinion, what should be done, when the spring came back up, so spring was dry, repair was done, Fort Clark Springs hired that same welder that we had used on the other one, the pool inlet gate. When the spring came back up, there was very meaningful leakage under that gate apparatus, between the gate apparatus and the concrete floor of the bypass channel.
Gotcha.
And back then, it was our thought, our suggestion for Clark Springs, that whenever opportunity presented, come in with some kind of a flange gasket material, some kind of rubber material that could be attached to the bottom of that gate apparatus that would basically seal that leakage under the gate. And I've looked at that the last few days since I've been down here. I've looked at that some. It would help inflow to the pool.
Okay.
Potentially, theoretically.
So we're losing
if
water
that's-
through that area
We're
right now.
losing water down that bypass channel that could be flowing through the pool rather than down bypass. Whether it's enough quantity of flow to be meaningful in having a functional pool, don't know, but it does seem like something that Fort Clark Springs ought to go ahead and do that gasketing or
Gotcha.
whatever you want to call it, the gasket or flange or rubber. Sorry for that long drawn out.
No,
but-
it's clear, it's clear now, And I just wasn't sure about it. Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
And the only other thing I would mention, it's in that written report, but at y'all's last board meeting, there was a strong desire expressed for budget details on what we're doing. And I immediately sent you, I think that next day, the budget details on the sidewalk repair and the protocol that I'm gonna continue on, unless you want something different, is as we finish these phases of work, you'll get the detailed breakdown of exactly what was spent, who got what, and all of that. And the planter, the two, I didn't mention planter boxes, maybe too much minutia and into the weeds.
We're gonna meet all summer, but this sounds like they are, so where are we?
This came before, they sent us the email saying they are on summer hiatus till September.
Till September, so this was
This was
before. Okay, thank you. And that brings us to the Eclipse Committee, which I guess if we've created it to, if we want to post out there to get more volunteers. I know there was some
Why did they
interest.
all decide not to do it?
I reached out to Marilyn and she didn't respond. So I'm really not sure. So I guess we can put out a call again, or we can vote to disband the committee. Is there any thoughts on that?
Let's give it some time,
Put out a call?
yeah,
Okay.
at least for 30 days.
Community council report. Do we have one?
They didn't meet this week.
They didn't meet, okay.
Because of the weather.
Oh, okay.
Can I say something for 4 o'clock, please? As a branch of community council. So, 4 Clark Days did meet with AEP this last week to accept our sponsorship check for $1,500, which was for our last 4 Clark Days, and they have committed to sponsor again for next year, either 1,000 to 1,500, depending on their budget. They are also
Is that before or after the transformer?
Yeah.
And they are very sorry about the electricity being out. They're working on that also. We actually gave Jimmy Ernest a tour of the fort. He is very interested in us and also going to look into their foundation grants as a possibility for us. So that went really great. I also have here for your consideration copies of a memorandum of understanding that y'all can vote on at the next meeting. What this is would be just an agreement for the next 5 years, giving us the permission you always do to use the facilities, properties, and everything. So just to avoid the hassle every year. So, got those
Thank you.
for y'all? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to, we had one email vote to approve the HVAC system for the boardroom that went out. So,
It's
yay.
working.
And the compressor is not in the, it's on this side here.
Yeah, so it's the big unit has been pulled out of the courtyard. So that's really nice to clean that up, and it's a much smaller footprint on this side, much less intrusive. So that was a great idea.
What was the cost?
I'm going for that.
About 15,000.
Right, here it is.
15,800.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there any questions on that? We have no unfinished business. So our next is, discussion item is the pool for Memorial Weekend. So we have rain, the water is coming up, but there's no guarantee that there'll be enough in the spring for the pool. So the discussion is about whether we can fill it for the Memorial Weekend.
I can't remember my birthday, so when is Memorial Weekend?
Next week.
Next week.
26, 27? 26,
Yes.
27.
First question probably be Chris. Chris, what, if the pool magically got full, would it hinder or have any issues with anything y'all are trying to achieve?
No.
Okay.
Would you consider the area a construction area? I mean, there's big bags of white stuff and all kinds of stuff. Is that gonna be an issue with people and children?
We've roped off the two things that relate to the Restoration Committee is on the cement pad area just to the southeast of the bathroom area. There's some big sacks of mortar, sand, that's in cinder blocks. I don't, from my opinion, that's not a problem. Then over that changing room area, that's roped off to keep people from going up in there. So my view is it's not a problem. It's not a construction area problem. But that's for you all to decide, not me.
Mr. Peterson, do you see that as an issue as far as
That
the
part's-
stuff roped off?
No, that's not the problem. The problem is water.
So I spoke with Randy last night about water, and it's approximately $600 to fill the pool. I've done a lot of research on this. Generally, drinking water has about 1 to 1.5 parts per million of chlorine. And water in a residential pool with no chlorination, except for what you get out of your water hose, would generally last anywhere from 3 to 6 days before any measurable amount of bacteria would be built. That's a broad spectrum of pool companies around the country on forum boards discussing this exact question. And Randy has offered to measure the water, make sure that it doesn't have anything that would be dangerous towards people. And so I think my opinion would be that we fill the pool. Randy's already agreed to do that. He's prepared to do it. And we leave the water in there for 3 days, which is the least minimum amount that it can be there before bacteria is built. And it'd be the safest possible thing that we could do, and it has been done multiple times in the past. Nobody's gotten sick, sued us, anything. So, my account of it would be that we do it, fill it, pay the money, do it for 3 days over Memorial Day weekend, let everybody have a good time, and continue to find solutions for people.
Mr. Peterson, that pump that, it was purchased before you arrived here, do you know where it's at? The pump that we used about, probably the year before you got here, and it was used to pump out from the spring into the regular pool. Do you know where it's located?
Got them in there.
We do have it still?
I have no idea. We have some.
So that's another option.
Yeah. Let me give a few other facts. you need to keep a pool at 3 parts per million. We have a 1,000,000-gallon pool. Means you have to put in 37.5 pounds of pool just to get to 3 parts per million. The turnover of a filtered chlorinated pool is 4 times an hour for a 24-hour period, or 4 million gallons in 24 hours. That's 166,677 gallons per hour, 2,778 gallons per minute. That's for circulation of the pool. There's no doubt we can put enough chlorine in there, but we cannot keep it circulating. There is no filtration, there is no circulation. And in case anybody wants to know, CDC states that each swimmer introduces 0.14 grams of fecal matter into a pool. So, y'all have the authority to do it, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, so the facts still state though, I mean, that's good information, but that the bacteria is hardly measurable until you get to 3 days.
That's according to Randy.
No, that's not according to Randy. That's according to hours of research, looking online and seeing what hundreds of pool companies would say is unsafe for somebody to swim in. So, and
This is
let me
where my
remind you
information comes from.
that we live in West Texas. And most of the people that grew up here swam in pilas all of their life, that the standing water was nothing but algae. And for the life of me, being 40 years old, I have never heard of anybody getting sick doing that. We're not talking about doing this for 3 weeks. We're talking about 3 days, and it will be monitored by people who know about water. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it safe? Yes. Do the people that are going to go down there understand there's not filtration? They should. And at the end of the day, this has been done in the past, and we have never been sued for it. To my knowledge, maybe I'm wrong, we've never had a complaint. So let's fill the pool and allow these people to swim and have a good time. And it is our duty as a board and a community to provide these amenities to this community. And we cannot just push them aside because it's too hard to figure out a way to proceed.
Say it's been done in the past, has it been done here?
Yes.
I swam in it twice.
I swam in it my whole life.
Oh, well, I'm talking about mud water.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, the spring is full, so that gives me some comfort, and I think we can use some of that water.
Maybe so.
As a matter of fact, the last time it was filled up, the pump that Fort Clark spent money on, used that pump, had a hose in the spring and threw the water into the pool, and it lasted for like any other day, any other time. The water lasted 3 or 4 days, and luckily some more rain came. Some of y'all may have been, or I know some of y'all were here when we did that.
Yes.
Yeah, matter of fact, under Miss Sandy Hagan, I think they purchased a pump, if I'm not mistaken. So, and that way we don't have to spend the money, but again, that's an option.
Randy did offer as
Okay.
well to turn the ejection pump around from that sump, turn that back around, and then that way we're pulling from the bottom of the pool and shooting water back in, and at least creating some churning of the water.
There's a pump at the bottom of the pool.
Well, it's what sucks out all that standing
Okay,
water and then
okay.
shoots it into the relief channel, the bypass channel, right? When we're draining the pool, we can turn that back around and put it back into the pool in order to create some churning of that water where it's not just stagnant. And again, we're not talking about 3 weeks, we're talking about 3 days.
Okay, so if we fill up the pool on Friday, then people can start swimming Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, up until Monday, 6 o'clock?
And drain it Monday,
Okay.
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Philip did install the pump and actually was meant to take the water from beneath the spring, not off the top.
Yeah.
Beneath
Yeah.
the spring, because we don't have permission to drill down, of course, the cost would be prohibited, into the actual aquifer. That water board takes care of that, and it was effective. But a couple of things, yes, we've done it in the past, $600, 1,000,000 gallons of water,
Yeah.
lasts, depending on how hot the weather is, if it's 90, 100 degrees, it's not gonna last 3 days, it's gonna last maybe 2. There's another concern, and only Randy can answer that question, and that's, do we have sufficient water right now to draw on 1,000,000 gallons at a time that if the spring and the creek go dry again and we go back on water restrictions, that water that they pump into your house and your plumbing and your toilets and your sinks and your showers, is that water level sufficient for that? Because the supplying water to our homes and facilities is a lot more important than filling that pool for 2 or 3 days on a holiday. So Randy's is the only one that's gonna really know whether there's sufficient water to do that. Because I know you're gonna wanna do it again on the 4th of July, and that's another 1,000,000 gallons of water. And the rain stops after tomorrow, and in the next 15 days, there's small chance for it. So I think you need to consider not only the fact that we can do it, we've done it in the past very successfully. We can do it. We can't, and for everyone that is thinking, can't we add more chlorine? No, that water dumps into the creek.
Right.
TCEQ would have a separate penalty. Yeah. If we dump anything that's fluorinated, because it kills wildlife and vegetation that's.
Well, that's not exactly correct, because our TCEQ permit that we have to pump effluent water from mud has to be treated with chlorine before they can pump it in the creek.
Right, we can't, we aren't using the same thing. Now, I know this for a fact because I had the discussion personally with TCEQ when they came over and we were discussing the exact same thing. So, because once that water leaves the pool, it no longer belongs to Fort Clark Springs, because it's not actually a swimming pool per se, it's an impoundment of spring water. So I just wanted to point out that because we're facing drought, we can't, we can do it successfully, but Randy needs to let us know whether this is going to affect water restrictions in the future.
That's a good question.
But you're absolutely correct, and this is why I'm suggesting we pump it out of the spring.
If we can, if there's sufficient water.
Oh,
'cause the
there
spring
is, yeah.
Yeah, the spring may be up, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna drop again in another, 2 weeks or so, just because, they're pumping water out above us. And I don't know if they're still doing it, but somebody above us has permission to sell water. And I believe that's still happening. So they're taking water out of the same aquifer, maybe not the same pool, but eventually it's going to be the same aquifer. All I'm asking is that you check and make sure that there's sufficient resources to pump that water in.
That's a good question.
Well, your chlorine, I'm not an expert, but your chlorine should evaporate after so many days from the pool water, and then you can possibly dump it.
Right, anybody else on the board like to weigh in?
Okay, couple of questions before I start, please. Who works up the annual budget? Is it the board? You do, okay. Is there a budget workshop committee? No?
Yeah.
Okay,
What does that have to do with the
Well,
pool? Excuse me, what does that have to do with the pool?
I'm coming to that.
Because it's just
Please.
$600 to do the pool.
Okay, why, this is a semi-arid region, if not a completely arid region. We face this more often than not with this pool. My question is long-range planning included in this budget? Pumps for that, circulating pumps for that swimming pool, even if it's spring water, even if it's fully spring water, the circulation will help keep down the algae growth. Maybe it wouldn't have to be drained every week and scrubbed. That would save on maintenance. That would also conserve the spring water. If we have to purchase water to fill it, it would keep the bacteria, the algae growth down. I'm just saying, I think a long-range planning for this pool is necessary. Right now, it's a homeowner's only amenity. I wouldn't use the trails right now with all of the illegals running around, the bailouts, etc. I think it's dangerous. That's just my say so. I can't see why this is one of the fort's greatest assets. And I can't see not using long-range planning for this pool.
Correct.
Thank you. I mean, and that, it is definitely something
Yes.
that, he has been looking into and something that probably should more formally be, to see if it's feasible.
I've spoken with over 20 companies to come here and look at this pool, and it's too big of an undertaking, I think, unless we got an engineering firm to come look at it, and I'm not saying that's the answer. There is a way to produce that much filtration of this pool through different methods: shocking, chlorination, turning it into a saltwater pool. There are lots of options. However, I have not yet been able to find anybody interested in coming and looking at this and giving us their professional opinion. And I really think the best thing moving forward would probably be to talk to an engineering firm. I'm not saying that we do that. I'm not saying that's the answer. I did speak at length yesterday with Randy about this, and if we can all agree that in that book that Mr. Peterson has over there, that there are measurables that have to be met in order for a pool to be safe, per se, right, within reason. And if we can meet some of those measurables, then yes, there is a path for us to fill the pool and to shock it, chlorinate it, and circulate the water and keep it safe for the residents. And one fill would last anywhere from 3 weeks to a month. It is possible to do that. I'm not saying that it's plausible, I'm saying it's possible. So we are very interested in that. I am not going to let it go. I am not going to sit here and be told that all we're going to do is forget about the pool. It is why people come here. We have real estate agents back here that can't sell a house because the pool's empty, and we need to do something about it. It's very important. So yes, we are very concerned about the pool, and we will do whatever we can to make it right.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for you. If you're gonna recycle the water and treat it, do you have permission under NPDES permit to discharge that water back into the stream system?
We will talk with TECQ to see if any of that, once again, I said it's possible, not plausible. So yes, there is research to be done through TCEQ to make sure that we can do that. However, our TCEQ permit with MUD does state that we can drop, specifically state that we have had a study done that says that we can put must put chlorinated water, chlorination with the effluent flow of the water coming out of the tanks at MUD into the creek. So there's already an exception being made for the water to go into the creek with chlorination. So I'm not saying that it's plausible. And if TCEQ says, you know what, we don't care what you do, we're not letting you put it in the creek, well then we're done. And we'll have to find some other path. But I'm not one to give up. We're gonna, hopefully find a way to figure it out.
Take that water and water your greens.
Yeah.
Put it in,
Put it in a mule and haul it.
water.
Well, if you pump it out of the,
Yeah, but doesn't that, if we start doing filtration and start chlorination on, doesn't that kind of take away the whole idea that it's like the third largest natural pool in the world?
What are we gonna do? Leave it empty for years? I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect.
What are you gonna do if the aquifer goes down and you can't get water to drink?
Well, you know what, and that's a great point, and that was stated a second ago, but I've lived here my entire life, and we've been in multiple droughts. And I had multiple residents last year tell me about how bad it was, that everybody was terrified that they weren't gonna be able to flush their toilets. But yet you drive around this fort in the morning and in the evening, and everybody's watering their lawn. Now figure that one out. Tell me, who in the drought stops watering their lawn?
I do.
But you get mad at a farmer for watering his crops. I mean, it's just, we have to be reasonable, okay? And that's really what this boils down to. We have to be reasonable. And if Randy came back or the water board came back and said, you can't pump that water, it's gonna hurt the community. Obviously, we're not gonna pump the water. It is what it is.
Last time I was down, a friend of mine that runs a ranch up here about 14 miles out, they ran out of water because they dropped that low.
Yeah, we don't want that. Nobody wants that. But we have to lean on experts, and that would be anybody's logical, conclusion, so.
Do we have enough information now, right now, to make this decision? It doesn't sound like we do.
It sounds like we just need to ask if it's gonna do any damage, and then from
Well,
there,
you got a week.
I think that's something that they have to monitor weekly, per their ability to pump water.
I think we can also, even if we didn't buy all the water, we can use half and half possibly. And the spring could supplement the water that's being evaporated. Definitely, this is not an impossible deal. Last year, we talked about it, and it was dead in the water. This year, I think we have a chance.
So I think where we're at is that, if we're gonna move forward on this, we need to check with Randy about impact, where their well is at. And you said he would measure.
He would test the water to make sure it was safe, yes.
So.
And we trust these people to handle all the rest of our water, so.
I have a
Drink it, but you
question.
don't wanna swim in it.
I have a question. Is the pool under operations?
No, but I'll tell you what is under operations, Chris. Let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about what we can and we can't do.
I'll make it easy for you.
Thanks, Alan.
My resignation, effective immediately. Enjoyed it, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you for your service.
Let's take a recess. Thank you. For about 5 minutes.
I'm really sorry that that's how.
I'm gonna call this board meeting back to order. It is.
We're reconvening.
Reconvening at 10:29.
Is that camera working?
Yes, you're now recording. It is working.
Excuse us.
It's her museum, her collection. Carol.
Miss Carol. We are reconvened. We have a quorum. It is unfortunate that this has happened.
It certainly is.
Our job is to ensure a well-managed fort.
Did you repeat?
No one
We're
shall,
not-
okay. We do not want to run this fort. We do not want to micromanage Mr. Peterson. But our job is to answer to the membership and to assure that this fort is well managed. And that is what we're doing. And as John said before, we can disagree and then come to a consensus. We can disagree with him. We can, in his resignation, he says we have the authority to do the pool. So he didn't quit because we took authority we don't have.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely, because I'm not an orator.
I wanna say that I've read the bylaws 100 times. And nobody wants to follow the rules more than these 4 people sitting right here, okay? But I want y'all to remember that if you believe in the bylaws and you read that and you think, man, this is well written, it's because it's written by smart people, just like our Declaration of Independence, okay? Constitution, whatever, all right? So I want to recite something to you. It's the job of the board to ensure that the fort is well managed and not to manage the fort. But I want you to look at the one word in that entire, Chris, disagree with me if you'd like, the one word in that entire thing that matters, and that's the word ensure. Ensure means to make certain. Certain means to leave no doubt. So, I'll ask you, and I'll go ahead and tell you what y'all thought based off of a survey, okay? 63% of this fort thinks that they should be either very concerned or that they need attention in the fiscal management of the fort, okay? 65% consider marketing as being very critical because it's not being done at all. Okay, that's just 2, guys. The survey is mind-boggling. It is our job, I'm gonna recite this again, to leave no room for doubt that the fort is well managed. If there was no room for doubt that the fort was well, or no doubt that the fort was well managed, would 63% feel like it was, or wasn't? 65% consider things critical that aren't being done. Is that the definition of being well managed? That's what you have to focus on. Is it being well managed? All we did was disagree about filling a pool so that people could have fun for 3 days. 3 days. We're not talking about a week. We're not talking about starting a war. Okay? We're talking about 3 days. So I really hope that people read that and focus on the word ensure. It means leave no room for doubt. And I have doubts. And if anybody wants to point me to a document that proves otherwise, please do so.
I also want to point out, the agenda's been out for a little while, and this topic has been discussed amongst us, that it would probably be coming up. Up until now, to the best of my knowledge, I have not received anything from Mr. Peterson or anybody else saying this is a bad idea.
You didn't receive it, but he did.
Who?
You spoke to Mr. Peterson about that. And he, I think, advised you that he didn't think it was appropriate.
That what?
That he didn't think it was appropriate that we, and the pool wasn't that kind of pool.
Yes.
We went through this last year, Linda.
Well,
And I was schooled, hold on. I was schooled last year, and I bought into what he was telling us. First time drought. I didn't expect this to happen again. Last year, most of y'all were probably here. I raised my hand probably once or twice, said, let's open the pool, let's by the water. No. So I agreed with him. I said, okay, we're not gonna open it. So we didn't have a pool last year.
I think that you might be right, Linda, that he sent me an email about saying, but once again, that sparked me into asking the people who know about water. I don't know about water, so I read as much as I could about pools. I read about stagnant pool systems and how long is it safe. I talked to Randy. So I am attempting to do my due diligence to make sure that I'm being a good trustee of this board and that I'm able to make a decision of education.
Yep.
Did anybody else, including Chris Race, that's now left, do any research on how long water can be in a pool? Did they call Randy? Did they do anything? My point would be is that I am trying to make a good decision, weighing all factors. It's not black and white. And that's where we have to be able to be wise enough to say, we can't live in a society where we're worried about being sued. I can sue everybody in this room for something if I want to right now. I could pay Chris to do it, but it doesn't make it right. Okay, so at the end of the day, we have to choose as a community who we want to be. And if we go back to our original document from 1971 or 2, as a board, we are supposed to provide these amenities that are set forth in our original documentation for us to have a recreational community for everybody that pays their dues. So we have to strive for that. And we have to do our best.
Can I make another comment? And are we not ignoring the information that we don't have at this point, because nobody has gotten a hold of Randy again, that we may not have enough water to flush our toilets and drink? So we're gonna take and move water
And we took what you said.
I think it's a great point.
While I was saying that in order to move forward, what I was saying, and sometimes I think I must be in a cone of silence, was that we needed to check with Randy to make sure it wasn't
Gonna affect our households.
going to affect our house, and that there would be measurables as to what is in there. And that's when she brought up her question. We hadn't voted, we hadn't made anything other than let's ensure before we decide.
So at this point in time, we're at a standstill on the vote because we don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I think let me just make a motion, okay, and we can just solve this. I make a motion to fill the pool for the 3 days of Memorial Weekend, and that this shall not be done until we have written documentation from MUD that doing so would not harm our aquifer moving forward.
Water supply.
And that it is monitored by MUD during that 3-day course to ensure the safety of our community residents and the visitors that we may have.
Who's gonna do the monitoring?
MUD,
Do we have to pay him to do that?
I have to pay them full time.
Well, let's get all the information first.
Well, he's saying,
Yeah, well, after we get the information.
if all those things are
Yeah.
correct, then we go forward. That's the
Okay.
motion.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Motion passes.
Opposed?
One opposed.
One opposed. I'm sorry. Okay,
First of all, I have a question. You're not assuming that Mr. Peterson resigned over the pool, are you?
well, considering that's what his resignation says.
It's exactly what it says.
Well, I haven't seen that.
I mean, I don't know, is it inappropriate to read the resignation?
I don't think that's inappropriate. I think members have a right to vote.
You know what? You have my
Gave it to you
permission.
in the meeting.
I'm sorry.
I think we pierced the veil of confidentiality in the fact that Chris may be able to weigh in on this, that he handed it to us during open meeting, which muddies a lot of water, so, no pun intended.
The one line that's imperative is, it is a health risk and a major liability.
That's his opinion.
It was prepared before the meeting.
Yes.
What was prepared
So,
before
His
the
resignation letter.
Because he expected this to happen.
He expected us to disagree with him.
Yes.
And how,
So
why,
he-
based on what?
So, I don't want your professional legal opinion, but
As
a member of the board.
none at all, okay.
I don't have an opinion about whether the confidentiality issues. I am very confused. Mr. Peterson, what you're saying, he resigned because of the concept of putting water in for 3 days. You all hadn't voted on that.
No.
So
Kinda
he
silly, isn't it?
resigned for a reason that hadn't happened. So I find that very confusing. And I
Well-
guess my other question, has Ms. Race resigned from the board?
I
don't know.
I don't know. At this point, I don't know.
I think she was upset and left.
So, I'm gonna read this
I don't
unless the
see
rest
any
of the board
problems.
has
I
a
don't have
problem
any
with it.
problems with reading it.
Reading what, all the resignation?
Yeah. Dated today. Board Clerk Springs Board of Directors.
Here.
First, I would like to apologize for my comments regarding Mr. Guzman. My recollection is that I did say he can, not I will, but either way, it's inexcusable. That's a whole other thing. I am submitting my resignation effective immediately because I cannot be responsible or approve in any way opening the pool by buying water from MUD. It is a health risk and a major liability. I do acknowledge that the board has the authority to do so, but I have recommended against it. By having the certified pool operator license, I would be held responsible. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. So that's the resignation. So, I think we should go ahead and move forward with our agenda. And the next item is the ad hoc committee, which we approved of last.
We approved it,
The
we're gonna
boarding?
have one.
Yes. And,
You want me to take the lead on it?
yes.
Okay. There's been some confusion amongst us, and I think amongst some people in the public about what this actually means. And so I just want to be we want to all be very, very clear about what this is, okay? Obviously, months and months ago, we had lots of residents that were very concerned about some of the things that were being done. I don't know of all of them, but we're going to say the steps, the trees, changes to the parade grounds. It really,
The theater.
The theater, it doesn't really necessarily matter. At the end of the day, y'all came to us, it is our ethical code to take your concerns and convey those into action, okay? And we did that. And we said, look, we're gonna create a committee that will provide us with one sheet of paper that says this is our recommendation for moving forward. When the general manager wants to change something, this is the process he has to go through. That's all they're doing. Okay, so the definition of an ad hoc committee is that it's a temporary committee. We are going a step further and saying that this temporary committee has 2 meetings to perform this task. 2, that's it, okay?
Does it say, oh yes it does,
Yes.
right here. Talking-
Nothing is binding. At the end of the day, that recommendation would come to us, much like half of my papers here are recommendations for variances. We would look at that as a board and go, this is acceptable. We think this is a good process. And we think that it has the ability to work. And then we can vote on it and yes or no it, okay? Nothing nefarious is going on. And to be honest with you, we could have nothing but high school children put on this board, and we still don't have to accept the piece of paper that they give us. It is just a document to help us make a decision of a process moving forward so that things don't happen to historical grounds and common property that might make everybody mad. So that there's just another layer there to help prevent bad decisions, okay? And that is all that we are doing, and I think that, like I said, there was confusion among us and confusion in the public, I think, and we just want to make that very, very clear as to what we're trying to achieve. We're doing what y'all asked us to do.
And that doesn't include regular maintenance, repairs. It has
Yes.
nothing to do with the day-to-day operations. It has to do with altering or changing any of the FCSA property.
And it's only gonna last for 2,
2 meetings.
They're just coming up
It's
with a
depending on,
process.
it's depending on the group that gets together, where they can get together and everything else.
If they can't do it in 2 meetings,
great work. I don't know why we need another one. Why can't Preservation and Historic Society work together to get what, this document that you'd like to have prepared, and then, and submit it to us?
I don't necessarily think that that's a bad idea. However,
We're
voted
committed to death, and we have to go on and on and on in these meetings because of that. That's the number one reason. The other thing is, as I said to you, the other day on the phone, the man, on the other day on the phone, to you, me, I talked, was it you or, was it you? Maybe it was you. I thought it was important, if this was going to go forward, that the membership be allowed to volunteer if they'd like to. Other people might volunteer, might put up someone else's name. And that went right over somebody's head and nothing has happened. I don't have the document, because I left it in the other room, but it's the same people that were there initially. And that's Russell, Chris Hale, Chip Riggins, Sharon, Elizabeth Hodges, and those are the people who were the most upset, so I'm concerned that that might not be a great idea. I was hoping that we would get people with more of a vision, some more people, not that some of those people don't have a vision, but some people that have a vision as to what it is the fort's trying to achieve.
Then we recommended you to be the liaison, so you're saying now if we do this committee, you don't wanna be the liaison?
I made in my notes that I think I would be a good liaison because I've been president of Preservation, I've been president of the Historical Society, only for 2 months, but nevertheless, and I have worked very hard on the preservation of the fort, so I thought it would be appropriate. I still don't think we need the committee. I
Well-
like the work, I think doing the work is the thing to do, but another committee just, I think,
So if we do form the committee, you want me to remain liaison because you have my vote?
well, yeah, if we perform it, but I'm
Okay.
not sure that it's necessary.
All right, well, first of all, we did form it because we voted on it. So we would either someone would have to bring a motion to.
okay,
I mean, I would think if you spoke to Mr. Hale, he would be more than happy to tell you that other people.
let's flip this around. Let's flip this around. Maybe the best way to handle this is to say, has there been misunderstandings among y'all? And does anybody in here have a problem with an ad hoc committee, a temporary committee to basically give us a document that we review? Do y'all feel as members that something is wrong with that? I mean, just speak up, I mean.
Personally, I'm not sure I'm confused. What's this committee going to do? They're gonna tell.
They're gonna
you-
create a process,
What?
so that the steps going down.
Let's just run a scenario. Let's run a
Okay.
scenario. So Mr. Peterson wakes up,
Or any
it
GM,
doesn't matter.
anybody.
General manager wakes up one day and he goes out and he sees a problem that he doesn't like, okay? And he says, well, you know what, I wanna take those steps out. I just don't like them, I don't think they're in the right spot, whatever the case may be. He says, man, what do I gotta do to do that? And the answer is, he's gotta go through the process. He goes, okay, well, I have to submit, I'm just in theory, okay, it's all hypothetical. I have to submit a written request to the board, and if this is the process, a written request to the board, at which point they have 72 hours to respond, or 24 hours to respond. And it has to be yay or nay. I wanna take the steps out, and the board says, you know, okay, and there may be more layers to it than that. It may have to be that we have time to respond, but also preservation and historic
Society,
Historic
yeah.
Society and Preservation also has to be, notified. And all three bodies, the board, historical, and preservation, have to yay or nay it, or they have to give us recommendation, and then the board says yes or no.
We can do it without a committee.
Well, yeah.
We can-
The committee's gonna create a process.
I mean, you're really tying, the hands of the general manager.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking about Peterson, I'm.
Any
just
general
saying,
manager.
And if you can't define, what is it that this change?
Any general manager.
And if you can't define, what is it that this change, I mean, any little change goes to the board, or just big changes? I mean,
That's the point of it.
That's the process.
That's the point of it. That's exactly the point of it. We don't wanna,
That's the point of the.
we don't feel like we're the best people to write it, right? We want a committee to write it so that they can give us the recommendation. And then Preservation and Historical looks at it and goes, yeah, we would agree with this. It's just to get information, that's it.
Go, Ms. May?
I think that's
So-
too tough.
So, I think one of the things, and I had a conversation with Alan about, changing the par 3 in the front parade ground.
Good example.
And I just went to him and I said to him, you know, if I was living, like, not if, but when I have lived, like, for example, in Houston. So I lived in Houston, I had a townhouse, which was an HOA, but this isn't about that. But behind the townhouse was this park that had just been like, you know, like a drug haven. And so the city decided Houston decided they were going to do something about that. So now they have lots of money and all that kind of stuff, but they decided, they put a plan together, and part of their process was that when they decided to change the use of the area that belonged to the city, they had to put the plan together, but they also had to go out to the people living around it and have a conversation with them about what did they think about what the city wanted to do to that. And have input into it, and even have, you know, if there's businesses in the area, they would have input into what happened. So that was the conversation I had one-on-one with Alan. I said, I would have expected, like, if we're gonna change something, even if a par 3, you know, it was originally parade grounds, but at some point along the way, the fort made a decision to put a par 3 there.
Actually, it was Brown and Rouge, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but
before us.
somebody
Yeah.
did, somebody did, and so, yes, it was originally the parade grounds, but then there was a decision for par 3. And then there was a decision to put the disc golf on there. And so, through time, there's been these decisions, and we have history from late 1800s through various war phases and different, you know, World War I, before that we had whatever, the Spanish-American War, we had World War I, we had Civil War, we had World War I, World War II, and so we have all kinds of history here, but it seems like, because there's been, like, to go from a parade ground to a par 3, you put a bunch of money into that, so it had to be some collective decision to do that. Somebody made that decision. And then we made other decisions coming forward. What I was saying was, if we're gonna change the use of a piece of the property, what the fort owns, I think there should be input into that. That was the question I had was, and I don't think I think there's lots of decisions to be made by a general manager, and there's lots of decisions to be made by a board, but at the point that we start deciding to do things with common property, then I think if we look to the big cities, and not even big cities, but bigger cities, they have a process they go through to make sure that it's in keeping with the people who live around it, or the businesses, or whatever. So
And that's the point of this.
That's the entire point.
That's
Yeah.
the entire
Yeah, that is the
point of it.
entire point of it.
And just to clear up, because I know there was confusion, let me just read this, oh,
Go ahead.
okay. This is what I sent out to the whole board. For their recommendations, their input, their whatever. I did a rough draft for this after we voted to have the committee. And this is what it says. This committee is being formed to research and advise the board of directors on process, policy, for any changes or alterations of the association common property other than regular maintenance and repairs. Association common property, which includes, but not limited to the following: historical district, historical building, facility, land use, trails. I gave my recommendations for committee members, which were just my recommendations under the categories that we talked about at the last meeting. 2 from Historical Society, Russell Knowles, Chip Riggins. From Preservation, Sharon Greger. From Architecture, Mallory Ratliff, because they've done processes, that's what she's been working on. Members at large, Chris Hale, Elizabeth Hodges, and then board liaison, I recommended myself.
Well, if this was gonna go forward, I wanted to ask if I could be.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the timeline, 2 meetings, the scope, create a process that includes the following. It has to go to the board for approval, inform applicable committees, whether it's historical society or whatever, and membership is informed or those impacted specifically.
You expect that to go only 2 months?
Well, they're just making the process. They're not overseeing anything.
They're creating a process to follow.
And the part that I didn't like was, and I said this to somebody, was, I think this should be discussed in front of the membership. They should be allowed to make recommendations on who they think should be on it. Why are we picking people and making a committee? It just looks a little too...
It's only a committee for 2 meetings.
That's what
it.
you're saying. I don't see that as once that's in place, it's gonna stay forever.
No, it's not.
We don't want
That's
to
the
stay there.
definition of an ad hoc committee. And I asked for input and got none until I said, let's move forward. And then the only thing I got was a list from Alan, and on Alan's list, 4 of the 7 on here were on his list.
I sent you a list.
I never got a list.
I sent it electronically.
I never got a list.
Well, that's how you figured out I was gonna be the
No,
liaison.
Alan sent me one with your name on it.
Oh.
I recommended that to you. After speaking
After
with
speaking
Linda,
to her. Okay.
I recommended
So-
to make her the board liaison.
So that, there was,
So did you say Alan agreed to have such an ad hoc committee?
Yes, when I explained to Alan his misconceptions about this process, because I had figured out that a couple of us had misconceptions about what we were doing, I called Mr. Peterson and spoke directly with him and explained what she just explained, and his exact words are, I have 0 problem with that, and I support y'all's effort. That was his exact words.
Sandy.
Okay. My voice is pretty loud, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I think the committee's a good idea as an ad hoc committee. Maybe they can't do it in 2 meetings, maybe you can give it 3. Not board meetings, just meetings set up, like
That they meet.
Wednesday,
They'll be
or
public,
Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, whatever they decide. But the only thing I think we need is more members without vested interests. Because
That's
2
what
from Historical Society, I think 1 would do. And the Historical Society can pick whoever they want. we don't need to, because not all of the common property, in fact, most of the common property is not historic buildings. Secondly, preservation, yes, because they deal with the outside of historic buildings, so they can be helpful. Architectural only deals with private property. So
But they deal with process, that was, and
Yes.
it's a member of the fort.
That's
So-
true, I'm not, let me finish. I'm just saying that they deal with private property, and yes, they're familiar with process, but I think it's more important to have people involved because they want to be involved. Now, I don't have any problems with, I think members should be on the committee, I don't care whether
They're all
you're
members.
5 or, that's not what I mean, without vested interest. Like, I think Chris Hale is doing a bang-up job, but again, he has kind of vested interest in the pool. And it would be nice to get some feedback from members that aren't necessarily from all of these committees.
Do you want to be considered, Ms. Sandy?
Huh?
Do you want to be considered? Do you want to be on the committee?
I would love to be on the committee.
Okay, you want to be considered?
Mallory
I don't
is not
disagree with
a
Randy
member
for that
anymore.
reason.
What do you mean? Isn't she sold her house?
No.
No.
There was
Thinking
somebody,
of Annabelle.
no, somebody said to me just this week that her husband works in the oil fields and now she's living in a camper in the RV park and her house has been sold.
No.
Well, you can check that with Gabby, she would be
Yeah.
able to tell you.
Yeah.
Sandy, I think, I mean, my opinion would be that, and I agree with both y'all, this is a discussion. I mean, nobody's trying to be a dictator here. If the consensus is that it would be, I don't care personally, like I said, I'm for high school students writing it. I mean, we don't have to vote on it. We don't,
Smarter than us.
you know what I'm saying? We don't have to vote, yes, we don't have to. It's just a piece of paper.
I understand that, it's,
So, yes,
They're-
let's
what they're
put some
gonna-
members
What
on.
they're going to do, what the committee, the ad hoc committee will do is create a guidance
Yes,
for,
The board.
For the
for an
GM.
approach toward common property, both historical and non-historical common property.
yes.
Their suggestions would be the process why we approach and approve these things. That's easy to do. Yes, I would be interested, and I
Who
think I
approves
could.
it? Who approves it? The
We-
board?
the
Ultimately.
board.
Because,
The board approves all committees.
Yes.
well,
The board, now this is actually an ad hoc board sanction committee because the board has created it.
And the board can pick it, yes, we're not
Yes.
trying to keep
But-
anybody out.
Right, but by, like, for instance, no offense to Lisa, but if she had insisted on that as the only thing she would accept, those people, then it would appear to a lot of us members, you were stacking the committee in favor of your own interests.
We
or
absolutely
things.
do not want that.
And believe me, perception is everything.
It's not her list, Miss Sandy. It's not her list because I recommended the same people as well.
No, that's okay.
And so did others. So there's no stacking, there's no nothing here.
I know. It's, like I said, perception is 99.9%. The truth is
Why
meaningless to people
Yeah, and
at
the,
times. And so I think the committee's a really good idea. I think setting a time limit on it, because it puts pressure on them. But I think that members out here, without any vested interests in any particular project, should be included on the committee.
Okay, I agree.
well, and the only, let me just say real quick, the only reason that, you know, that I was pushing forward with this and gave the chance for other recommendations was we have been talking about it for months. It's like everything is getting bogged down and our job is to get things done. We don't want a huge committee because then it'll definitely take more than two.
I agree.
So here we are. If there are other people in here that would like to be on there, I mean, I'm not,
Thank you, yes, because
If you
I
want to be
think
considered, we'll
with my
consider you.
background, and the fact that I spent 6 years on the board, and I'm a golfer, so I use community property. I would love to, but if you don't choose me, I will not be offended.
I just
As
want to.
long as it's open to the membership to
Yeah.
contribute.
And I just want to confirm that whatever they suggest will be ultimately approved by the board.
Oh, yeah, committees,
Because it's been said to me by someone who I won't say, that this is illegal. And that we are giving our fiduciary responsibilities to individuals, it's not, we wouldn't be if the board is making the final decision.
This, and I know, believe me, I know who you're talking about. And, no, because this committee has no authority whatsoever.
Thank you.
It's an advisory committee.
It is an advisory, there's 5 different kinds of committees. This is an advisory committee.
It's an advisory ad hoc committee.
Can Mr.
And
Chris
members-
speak up?
Yeah, excuse me, I have one more thing. Members seem to forget sometimes, and sometimes you as board, committees have no independent authority. All committees do, whether it's
Correct.
the golf committee or it's the airport committee. All of that is to make recommendations to you. And not for every single little tiny thing they do, obviously, but for major changes and to keep you advised.
And the only reason I said that, folks, is because this person threatened to sue the board.
Yeah, he threatens to sue. Everyone needs to know he threatens to sue everybody all the time.
I just thought I'd
So
mention it.
I'm gonna just, let's do one more because we are, because of what's going on.
I'm sorry to take up time, but I keep getting named, and point first Ms. O'Brien, and this seems to be the day for me to express confusion. Let me just start by saying, I'm not clamoring to be part of this committee. I was asked if I would be agreeable to, and I said, and quote, I will grudgingly agree to be part of this. That was my words when I was asked. I have opinions about this topic. Ms. O'Brien and I have talked going back months.
Years.
And not years, months, on this specific topic. And I expressed frustration when Ms. O'Brien, from my viewpoint, did a 180-degree turn back before February board, January, whatever. But the confusion that I have is listening to all of this. Ms. O'Brien, again, is saying she doesn't want more committees. I find that very confusing. The committee that I'm on for the last almost 3 years, she
Started it.
She pushed for it. The board started it, to be correct.
Correct.
You pushed for it. And if that committee had not been created because we have too many committees, to match your words, over $100,000 of improvement in that place down there would never have happened. I can tell you 100% certain. So if there is some kind of preconceived notion that we got the committees and no more committees, never again, I'm sorry, that's totally illogical.
We already
And-
have
and-
2 committees for this job.
We don't have a committee for this job whatsoever.
We have preservation and
Now,
historical.
I don't want to get off on preaching my personal opinion. I just want to express, I'm confused. Last month, Ms. O'Brien, you voted yes for this committee. Now you're opposed, I'm confused by
I'm
that.
opposed.
Let me say, and I'm frustrated, again, I don't get that I've got vested interests related to this. My view, I've had conversations with Mr. Peterson. Back 2-3 months ago, he told me he's all for this clarification of general manager authority. He told me that twice. And one of those times, Linda, you were present. It was on my porch. So I'm confused that there is this controversy about this. I don't get it, but whatever. My viewpoint is the general manager authority as currently defined, and as we talked, when you and I and Mr. Peterson were talking about this, as currently defined, general manager could close the horse stables tomorrow. I don't think that's right for one person to make that kind of gigantic fundamental decision. That's my opinion. And what's called for, in my opinion, for this ad hoc committee, and call it whatever you want to call it. If the C word is a bad word, then don't call it that. It's to define when are changes big enough that they need to go to the board. That's point 1. Point 2, it needs to define the process around all of that. And point three, it needs to, the effort of this ad hoc blankety blank is to incorporate that process, make sure that process is in harmony with the declaration, with the bylaws, and with the Texas Property Code. And Linda, I'm sorry, but that doesn't just spring up, that effort, that coming up with a recommendation to the board doesn't just spring up out of autopilot fashion. Some persons have to sit down and craft that. Some persons have to sit down, scrutinize the bylaws. I think it's Article 5 something. But whatever, there has to be that scrutiny, some thrashing of the issue of when is something bigger than a bread box that should require more than just unilateral general manager decision making. That's my opinions, but again, I'm very confused. The committee was voted to be created last month. Now you're opposed.
I'm not opposed, I was not happy with the list of people who, I mean, they were, we need to open it up to.
And again, just to reiterate, I'm happy to not be one of those people on that list. And if I'm not, I will stand perfectly ready, willing to give input to the ad hoc committee people. I don't need to be on that committee. And well, I'll stop there. I was going to start harking back to last month's board meeting, but I won't go there.
We can discuss this to Kingdom Come, and I'm ready to make a motion to make a recommendation for the people we have on the list,
Including Sandy.
including Sandy.
Well, thank you.
So I make a motion that we adopt the list that was given to us in our packet to steer this committee for 2 meetings, and if they need a third committee, all they got to do is pick up the phone, call us, and say, we need a third meeting. That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
I abstain.
Oh, you abstain?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
She's
on the list.
She's gonna read the list.
Mr. Hale,
Oh, yeah,
I would
you're
just
on
like
the
you
list.
to understand that I did not do a 180 last meeting. I simply asked
Not
for,
last meeting, I said about 3 or 4 meetings back, but
I asked for some kind of an
Okay.
accounting for this, and it's,
Okay. Well, you abstain, but we have you on here as the liaison.
But that might be a good reason for
That
her
may
to
be a good
abstain.
reason.
I vote
Yeah,
for she
she-
stays
Okay,
on liaison.
that's true.
Yeah, agreed.
That's true.
so
All right.
I am not.
No, you are.
You
Oh,
are.
I am.
I'm voting
That's
for
right.
I don't mind working on it. I just want to make sure we get it right.
Okay.
Okay. Update on the lot sales.
Bring the list.
Elizabeth, is
I
there
did-
something
didn't I read-
humorous
I didn't
going
read
on
the
in the
list.
back?
I did.
When
Yeah,
you're
I
sitting
read
there
the
laughing
before.
at us.
I think it's just this right here.
Okay, so we got, the list has been read, and it's just
Okay,
included.
I just thought I'd ask.
I'm
The
covered.
list of-
Oh, that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did
I
read
thought you were
it.
gonna read it after we approved it.
Oh, I did read it.
Okay, I'm sorry, is that correct?
Yes.
yeah.
We have a list.
Okay.
The list was already stated, and we just added Ms. Hagan onto the list.
And we thank you for your service. And all y'all's, I mean, like, this is supposed to be a good thing, not a bad thing. And if it ends up looking like a bad thing, we're gonna throw it in the trash and we'll start over. It's not, we're just trying to do what everybody asked.
All right. So, on the lot sales, totally money collected, and I think you stated it was $54,450.
She had quoted a number, at the very end, it's shooting for 88.
Gotcha.
It's a lot.
Yeah, because there is still some. The other question, the question that I have after the report, and that we need to decide, I guess, and vote on, is we set 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. We did not vote to extend how much time people could get a discount. So, when I was purchasing my lot, I was at the end of the deadline, and there was an issue with, because I went through the court, and there was an issue with it going to the attorney, coming back, and I was told if I did not sign it that day, because it was already past the period, I would lose that price. And that's fine, because it's past the period. I mean, I thought it was splitting hairs, but to then turn around and now allow other people to purchase property without it going back out to the membership at a discounted price, I don't think is fair or acceptable.
I had nothing to do with it. That was what
No,
what was
I know.
told me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was surprised when that came up.
In other words, it was authorized to reduce it after the deadline without us knowing about it.
Again,
Which is-
I was just told that.
Yeah,
I can't
no,
make any
and that's fine.
Yeah.
So the point I'm making is, if we are going to go ahead and do that, which I'm not sure if we should, then we'd have to vote on it.
Let's vote
But
on
is
it.
that the discussion item?
No, this was just an update on the sales. I mean, that's all it says, lot sales updates.
Okay.
So, and I didn't put that one on there, so I don't know who that is.
What's the thought in going back to giving that discount again? Why, or is anybody trying, not you, but?
I don't know,
We don't know.
because we weren't informed.
I ran around yesterday trying to get information on the accounting aspect of it so I could do a report, and that's what I was told. I don't know any more than that.
And at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
If they have to be adjacent.
5 lots have, no, it was any.
Oh, well,
5
what I
lots
was
have
told
had
is-
a discount
But it was
beyond the date
favorable to the
that we
membership.
were not
Definitely.
informed of,
It was
yes.
it was favorable to the membership.
So, so that's something. So at this point, I would say, without a GM, that they are not discounted.
Yeah.
Sounds fine to me.
Is that
Correct.
until we either, we discuss it, but since we're looking at.
That's fair enough.
Now, that would prevent a realtor from providing us a lower, advising us that someone is offering $25 less, and then we can agree to or not agree with.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we discuss the other issue, which was hiring realtors? One of them has submitted something for 14%. And we're paying 3 to our.
And that's a contracted.
Well, I think that is your privilege. I mean, you can still do that. Find the investor, we'll sell them. You know what I mean?
All right, sounds wonderful, and then we'll negotiate on, I guess, the pricing for the commission. Yeah.
Well, the reason that we were okay, so the backstory, I don't know if you watched the meeting. The reason that I'm a proponent of them you getting a much higher rate is because I do this also for a living. And I understand that 3% I made some notes. There's 50 lots left. If they average about, we'll say $6,000, you're at $42,000 commission. But out of that $42,000 of commission, that's at 14%. Out of that $42,000, you've got to do marketing. You've got to pay the other real estate agent. You've got to pay your fee to put it in MLS. You've got to do all these things, and so we're trying to be cognizant of that. But we also don't want that 50-lot burden. That's why it was voted on. So, in the event that we did accept a contract at 14%, that allows you to come to whatever the listing agent. You can go and say, "Hey, I want to negotiate 7% or whatever."
Right.
But nobody can make a living at the 3% because, I mean, every house in San Antonio is more than $300,000. So it's just not enough money. We encourage that because we want people to be able to make a living doing it.
Absolutely, that's very, okay, thank you.
Yes, Cindy?
How many lots has Gabby sold and how much money has she collected for us? Because she gets a small, is it 2 or 3%? 3% for every lot that
She
she's
sold all of them.
already sold so far. And if she is that successful, and apparently she is because I saw it yesterday when I was doing the packets for the
Yeah.
board. If she is that successful at selling those lots already, maybe we should give her a little more time to see what she can sell. And then bring a realtor in those last few lots that are difficult for Gabby or anybody to sell. Give them the higher percentage to sell those.
Right.
But if Gabby's doing it, we're helping an employee and, or the association with only 3%. And so far, she's sold, how many lots somebody has?
Oh, I had here in my.
Thank you.
Hey Sandy,
20 grand.
thank you for educating me on that because I did not know she was getting 3% of the sales of the lots. That was
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of it
We couldn't find
until
that
this
out.
moment, okay, first of all. Second, Gabby is working here and she does a great job and she's a wonderful person. But she's not hustling, marketing the sales of the lots.
That's because Mr. Pearson didn't let her. She does have some for sale signs. She is able to put them out. She just needed to go ahead to do it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first time I've heard that as of today. That's one example.
Can you repeat that? We
Yeah.
do.
We didn't hear that.
That-
Sorry, Judy. Speak, Judy.
The reason why Gabby didn't put out the signs and stuff was that was a Mr. Peterson call. He wanted to see by word of mouth and dispatch how well we could do without spending any more money. Because she has some signs, but she doesn't have a lot. Now that he's not here, she can put the signs out. If the board gives her permission, she can hustle more. She does have the time, and she's enjoying it.
That's
What?
awesome. I didn't know
Okay,
that. Thank you.
Go ahead. I mean, I can
I've seen the
have
signs.
Well,
They're nice signs.
the point we're at now, though, is we have already voted to entertain a realtor.
and we have
And the first lot sold or the best lot sold, you know, it's the members that have been waiting a year or, you know, those that, to get them because they were taken off. And if we wait until we're down to, you know, the 10 hardest lots, we're not gonna find a realtor that'll take that on. We'll just be sitting on those 10 lots. And besides that, if we have a realtor, it does not preclude us from selling the lots. Gabby can still sell lots. If people,
Have that in the contract, because you were gonna give everything over to the realtor, one realtor, so that they have a chance to make money.
but we
And-
never precluded the fort from selling the lots.
In the motion to do this in the first place, I stated that we reserved our right to sell our lots. So that a standard, obviously, contract would have to be modified to, reflect that.
Because we save money also on the percentage basis, because Gabby does all the paperwork.
Yeah.
So that helps. But I'm trying to keep it in-house if it's possible, just because it saves us money and rewards one of our employees. But I understand what you're saying about getting a realtor involved, it's just at 14% when, I don't know what the going rate is now, 7%?
6%.
6%, yeah.
But it's not about necessarily, I do this for a living, and I know this specific thing I deal with every day. And what's gonna happen, what will happen, and if everybody's okay with it happening, it is what it is. But what will happen inevitably is that we have 50 lots for sale, and there's gonna be 20 of them that sell, but those 30 are gonna hang. And you're gonna have to start spending all sorts of marketing dollars to try to figure out how to get rid of them. And so that was the whole purpose behind it, because, it's gonna hang. At some point, it will stop. And when it stops, at that point, we're gonna have to make the decision again. And so that was, we would like to operate as a done is better than perfect board, and we haven't had that in a long time. We don't have to do everything perfect, but we do need to get stuff done. And then when we make mistakes, we'll try to fix it. Like in this situation here, you could say, okay, well, it's a mistake, can we fix it? Absolutely. And I'm not saying that it is or isn't, but I'm just saying done is better than perfect. That's the motto here, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, a Reader's Digest version of the situation. The first year I was on the board, Mr. Peterson and others decided it was not a good idea to sell lots until we got the prices corrected. We sat on it for a year and a half almost, until I started pushing it last October. I pushed it October of 22, November 22, December 22, and then finally in January, we decided to start selling the lots. It was a dragging of the feet to no end. Now we're here. And now we have an option to get somebody under contract to move these lots. Now, how do we benefit? Everyone knows how we benefit. We sell a lot that's not owned by the fort, they start paying membership fees. My goal is not to raise any more rates until I die. So we need to sell these lots now. We've dragged our feet, and you know what? My mea culpa, man. My fault for not speaking up within the first 6 months of this situation. It's the board's responsibility to sell those lots, and we drug our feet for a year on not selling those lots. And who's paying the price for it now? 2 increases in rates on the members, 2 years in a row. The first year I voted reluctantly for them. Last year I didn't vote for them. So that's just where we are right now.
Why isn't there a committee for the real estate on the board? I mean, I know nobody wants to know that. That's what we are.
Watch that C word.
Oh, yeah.
Cuss word of the month right there.
Common ground, sorry.
Well, I mean, unless somebody wants to make a motion to change that.
Change what now?
We voted for the realtor.
And we advertise for
Oh,
it.
and we advertise for it, and we have someone to consider. So,
Who is the someone?
well, we
Contract.
need to
Talk about later.
talk about it.
Okay.
So, unless someone wants to make a motion we need to move forward.
I'd like to make a motion that we hold off for a bit. Because we're doing well on our own and saving a lot of money. And then if you have this one person that you decided you think you like in time, maybe. But right now, why would we give away money?
Then go ahead and make your motion.
I make a motion that we continue as we are with the pricing as you suggested, where it should be, for another 3 months.
Is there a second?
That's fine.
Okay, the motion fails. Okay. Now on to variances. Bill, is it about the last agenda item?
Yes,
And we've moved on.
well, I was just gonna ask you, if you're gonna give Gabby permission to put the signs up.
Like I said, in the motion, we reserve our right to sell the properties.
I understand that, but can she start putting signs up now?
We're gonna go into contract, we're gonna discuss the contract in executive session. Once that's decided, we will give you the complete information.
Okay.
Let us get more information. That's a hard question. That's a hard question to answer, and it might, in theory, impact the entire decision from the realtor. They may say, screw it, I don't want to do it. So, just that I think that requires a little more thought.
Okay. All right, Unit 36 variance. And the owner is here, Mr. Valdez. The variance is he has a patio. I have a question because I was looking at the picture. Has everybody looked at it? Is it going into your setback or going into green space?
It's going to the edge of the property.
The patios, but the eave itself?
The eave will go into green space.
The overhang will be at the property line. The setback states 2 feet back for structure, including overhang.
Okay.
Okay, and my point is, I started to build it that way when I brought it to the architectural committee. And I was on the architectural committee at the time that we got the permit. At that time, we should have just submitted for a variance. Didn't think it was a big deal, but when I started building it, it looks cruddy because, the setback is 2 feet everything ends there, all the water falls on that patio, and unfortunately, the concrete guy didn't do a real good job of it, even though I paid him a lot of money. So the water comes back to my front door. And the point is that I'm next to green space. The houses around me all have their overhang to the property line or close to the property line. So I'm asking you guys to approve it because of that problem of the water.
Right.
I could gutter, I'll have to go get another permit, but I've got a picture.
And I've looked at the pictures, I was just
Did John, did you
unclear,
look at it?
Yes, we,
because
Okay.
we got it, but I was just unclear because the variance says green space. That you want 2 foot over the property line into green space, but really, you just wanna bring the eave to the property
To
line.
my property line where the concrete ends, and I just mentioned that there's green space, it's not like I'm intruding in my
Okay,
neighbor.
okay, then I just need to clarify that so that we could get that off
No,
there.
no, I'm not going into green space.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I don't think so. So,
I'm not-
see,
I think that's worded correctly. The eave will extend 2 foot in.
no,
over
the eve
property
is
line.
just going to the property line.
To the property.
He's not
Yeah,
going,
I'm not intruding into the green space. I'm bringing my overhang to my property line.
so he's going 2
Yeah,
foot into
it
the
would-
setback, but that's still his property. It's just he's going
It's
into
a
the
setback.
setback.
Okay.
Does that make?
Yeah,
Cause,
that makes
and
sense.
that's where my confusion, because the drawing looked like it was property
I
line,
see what you're
but
saying.
it was worded as green space.
Did I word that?
No,
Oh, okay.
So what you're saying is that. What you're
She's
saying
trying to
here
derail
is
me.
that this line here is this actual property line.
yes.
So where this is sitting right now is not extending into
Not
green
extending,
space.
it's just extending into his setback.
And John, those rafters are cut long until, and I told the architecture committee, until you guys made a decision. Based on what you guys told me, I would cut those rafters back to whatever, because I'm running out of time on my permit. So
Okay,
I didn't want to wait till the variance to start building it.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have it right, and we'll rewrite up the variance. So, okay. If there's no other questions, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve Mr. Valdez's variance request.
A second?
All in favor? Motion passes. Woo!
It's raining, we expect you to work today.
I got an injection on my knee, I gotta take a day off.
All right, this one
I vote
came
yes.
separate.
Ms. Bates?
Yeah. Okay, and has everyone looked at this variance? Do we have any questions for Ms. May?
The only question that I had, and I asked it of Matt, was, he says no one else in there has a screen porch. Is there any reason why she can't have a screen porch? Other than the CCNRs, is that it?
Yes.
What difference would it make? I mean, whatever she does is gonna be beautiful. Well, it's true, you do it well.
Yes. So
There is another screen porch.
There is another screen.
there is another screen
There
porch,
is another
but
screen.
it does not have a variance for it. Or, I'm not sure if it has a permit.
It's
Is
been
it
there,
Perryman?
it's been there since 2002.
Oh, a long time.
No, it's the first entrance, into
handed it.
Unit 14. On the right-hand
Oh, there
side,
it
there's
is.
three houses, four houses that are all
Yeah.
together, connected. And it's a screen porch that's on, I think it's the first house that you get to.
But is it within 2 feet?
It's 2 feet from the street.
So the CCNR state, the front wall of the RV or any structure shall be placed no closer than 20 feet from the front property line, excepting however that open carports, no lattice work or screening permitted on the sides of the front, may be placed no closer than 2 feet from the front of the property line. So the CCNRs only allow for a carport and to not cover up from the sides. I could make a guess as to why that's stated. It could be that because then somebody could step out from behind that structure and get hit by a car. I mean, who knows why they, it limits sight if everybody did that. So that's what the CCNR state.
Okay, thank you.
So the question is,
Can I make a comment about Unit 14?
Yes, sir.
The thing about Unit 14 is that the lots are so short that when you build a house or whatever, you don't have a lot of room in the front to do anything. And there's a lot of places already that have those carports and such to the 2 feet with the stuff coming out. So just consider that, because the lots are short there and they're real narrow, they're 30 feet.
They're 30 by 60 lots.
I'm sorry?
They're 30 feet wide by 60 long.
Correct.
And there was in 81, there was a modification to the CCNR that said, despite the fact that this is a single family recreational lot, single family recreational vehicle lots, but they went on and they gave an amendment that said all of the lots may also be used and occupied for one family residential purposes with homes of conventional construction, subject to prior approval of any such residential units by the architecture committee and or the association. And then later they did the modification about the carport being able to come to within 2 feet of the lot line. If you look, and I have done this, if you drive around and look at Unit 14, it's very conventional residential home, and so those homes have been there, and I can tell you that the screen porch was there when my late husband and I bought the place that we have back in 2002, and so either everybody got to do all of that, without approval, and so it's been that way for years, or there were things that were approved over time, and I don't know what the records are about that. But I guess I would really like to have a 12-foot deep screen porch on the front of my house, which still leaves 10 feet from the front of my screen porch to the road, to the end of my property. And the reason I would like to do this is because I like to be able to sit out without the mosquitoes and without the deer coming through, and eating my plants and all that kind of stuff. So
that we will have to discuss.
Okay.
In executive.
I actually was putting in a proposal, with Julie, and I don't have enough information. I'm a newbie to the court.
Yes, hi, and we saw the proposal, but it came in after the deadline.
It really did, yes. And so we also haven't made up your mind on who or what. I just wouldn't mind actually seeing the lots and seeing which ones are available and which ones can actually go to one investor instead of singled out. I think that would be a more appropriate way to go with the smaller amounts on the lots. Realtors can't make anything. We're fighting each other on this. So if we actually can group them together and maybe find one investor to actually buy a certain amount, 5 at a time, 10 at a time, we may be able to actually get a grip on it.
Well, I think that is your privilege. I mean, you can still do that. Find the investor, we'll sell them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right, sounds wonderful. And then we'll negotiate on, because the pricing for the commission, I think, yeah.
Well, the reason.
now, separately, I think the architecture committee didn't have any problem with the room I was going to add in the back of the RV, half of my house, the pavilion half of my house, and put the storage. So that was fine. It's just the screen porch off the front that.
Well, the variance
That
states that
would be
you
a
want it
variance.
within 2 feet of the front property
No.
line.
No, I do
I'm
not.
confused.
No,
But your drawing says 10 feet.
my drawing says 10 feet, and my my drawing says 10 feet. I'm not intending what I want is what did I say? So 14
Makes
feet
the
wide
picture more accurate. Look.
to 12 feet out from the front of my house, which leaves 10 feet
from my end of my screen porch to the street, which will have which will be open. It's concrete right now, but it won't have a roof on it. And my neighbor, if you're standing looking at my unit, the neighbor to the right on the corner, they have a similar front porch.
And that's the one with the chicken wire or whatever?
On the sides of it, yeah. But they did, it's just
But it's also one that we could not find a permit or
Yeah,
variance for.
it's in violation.
Okay, well.
Grandfather,
It's all in violation.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about I don't know what to say about the screen porch that's been there since 2002, and I don't know what to say about, all of the porches and the lattice work, because there's lattice work all over Unit 14 on the carports. There's some houses that have been built all the way to the 2 feet on the front, and they have lattice work, across the front of them. I don't know what to do about everybody who's done what they've done in the past. I just want to be able to have a nice home, and that's where I'm going to be living. I want to have a nice home with a screen front porch. If I can't have that, then I'm going to come back and talk about getting a carport, and I'll probably put those sliding, screen walls up, because I want to have a nice home. With a screen front porch. If I can't have that, then I'm going to come back and talk about getting a carport, and I'll probably put those sliding, screen walls up, because that's temporary. I can move those around.
So,
but I don't want a carport. I want a screen front porch.
what was the intent of the original? I think
That's what I said, I don't know.
To get a better picture of making a decision is, what is the intent of the original?
It doesn't say, it really doesn't.
Not a screen.
Oh, it means like the intent, why was 2 feet, yeah, why was it?
Why was?
Other than because those rows are so small and to have structures right up against 2 feet, I could only make a guess.
Yeah, and you have buildings that are right up to the property line. You know what I'm saying?
So there's buildings along the street that they come within 2 foot.
There's one building in particular that it's built right to the property line, and it's like 2 feet from the
road,
from the curb. But I think the problem, and it has to be changed in the CCNRs, is that the setback is just so far back. It's not like you own a residential home, where you got a lot of property. Your setback is 20 feet, and that's not normal. It's typically 10 feet anywhere else, but 20 feet is just so far back you can't do anything. If you look at some of the houses that are at 20 feet, they look odd because all the other houses that were, for however they did it, were brought forward,
So you're saying that there's other houses that are encroaching in that 20 feet?
Yes. Yeah, that one, that picture
Yes,
right there
because
is
an
right.
amendment was made to the CCNRs for that unit.
Say, sorry.
An amendment was made to the CCNRs for that unit, which I think.
But for carports
referred to.
though.
Yeah, for carports.
But there's a building like that one that, there's more than one, they look like they're all attached on that one road.
That's what you was
But I
talking
think
about.
Yeah.
Well, that's just one of them, but then
there
are some
Okay.
that have actually built. There's another set where they built right up. They can't park in front. They have because they built right to within 2 feet. What they've done is they built to their
Property line.
within their setback.
Yeah.
The 2 feet. They're setback 2 feet.
Okay, I think for me, it's like, what are you trying to issue process? What are you trying to figure out? What's the problem? Or what would be a problem with doing this? And if the only argument or the only thing that I could think is exactly what you said, which was, if it was right on the street, you could possibly create a situation where, just.
But I'm not going that far out.
No, I know. I'm just hypothetically speaking.
I've got 10 feet.
Right.
of
Where a
parking
child might run
space.
out or something and get hit by a car, but that's not happening here. It's 10 feet, and then there's still a 2 foot setback, so that's 12 feet.
No, it's 10 feet from
the property.
I want a 12 foot, so I have a 40 foot house. I want a 12 foot porch, which leaves 10 feet to the street, which would include my.
12-foot porch, okay, that's where I want
Yeah,
it.
so 12-foot porch.
And you still have 10 foot in front. And
Yes.
then what if,
To the street.
this may not matter, I'm trying to gather the information. What would be the intent of the 10 feet? Because you can't even park anything in 10 feet. So what would be the intent of the remaining 10 feet?
Well, it's 14 feet wide by 10 feet. It's 14 feet wide by 10 feet deep. I can park a vehicle.
Side, like
Yeah,
parallel
sidewise.
park, basically.
Yeah, I put my golf cart there.
Okay.
And I still have on the right half of my property, where in the back I'm gonna put the room and bed and bathroom with the storage above. I still have, and then a storeroom in front of that. I still have 19 feet there that's under my roof. And then I have 22 feet to the street.
Well, and then, I'm just gathering information so I can run a calculator in my brain, right? You've got other people along the street that have carports, but in theory, they have the right to build a carport 2 foot from the offset, and then they could just park their cars there and block everybody from seeing anybody running out anyway, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's already been done.
basically, yes.
To help you out, where you're on Plaza de Menorca, right?
Plaza de las Palmas.
Las Palmas?
Plaza de las Palmas.
Oh, okay.
Some thoughts? Okay, do we have a motion to approve or deny?
I make a motion to approve, Ms. Main's request for a variance on her property, Unit 14.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Thank you.
And I'll change it on here, and then you'll get a copy, and a copy will go in, into the file, so that.
So I can get my permit Monday?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Thank y'all very much. We appreciate you being here and your input. Thank you.
And your patience.
And we're gonna need a lot more of that.
Okay. We're down to announcements. Oh, yes.
I have an important question for the recycling future. Without a general manager, at the moment, I'd like to ask the board to discuss my input about a storage facility or a container or something. I hope to get the baler within 2 weeks. There's no hurry up, oh my God, we have to do this, but I just want to lay that
Don't want
out.
it to get lost in the.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank
Yes.
you.
It won't get lost, Ms. Elena.
All right, so, the books, literature and tea is rescheduled to Tuesday, May 23rd. In the green room, the Mountain Laurel Garden Club is on summer hiatus, and their next meeting is September 14th. Does anybody have any other announcements that, for the community?
The garden club is having an after plant sale. Let's get rid of the last of the plants on my porch starting at 1. So if anybody would like to come by. Yes, today.
Lovely
Did
day
it rain?
for it.
I got a big porch, so we're good. We don't have a lot of plants.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, we are adjourning at 11:45 to go into executive session.
5 minutes?
5 minutes.